What's going on YouTube? This is Jabber Tech, and this is a third generation TicWatch Pro from a company called Mobvoi. They've been making smartwatches, Wear OS smartwatches for quite some time, and this is the best one that they've ever released. It has the all new Wear 4100 processor in here. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It's got a lot of great tech as well. It'll run you about 300 bucks. Check my link down below for some coupon savings if you're interested in picking this up. But let's go ahead, unbox it, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the TicWatch Pro 3. This is everything that you get in the box. So you get an all new charging cable from Mobvoi. It still uses the pogo pins for charging. Thankfully though, you're not going to need this charger all that often. You can even go on vacation, forget your charger, and still be able to use your watch. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a second, but I've been getting very close to Mobvoi's claim of 3 days on a single charge with the TicWatch Pro 3, and that's quite impressive for a Wear OS device. That's quite impressive for a device that does 24-hour heart rate monitoring, that's monitoring my blood oxygen saturation levels 24 hours a day. And it's quite impressive because I did go for a 3-hour bike ride as well, and I also did sleep monitoring. So getting close to that 3 days is something super impressive. Now you might be wondering, how can you leave the charger and go on vacation and still be able to use this watch? Well, what makes a TicWatch Pro is the fact that there's 2 layers on this display. You have this really nice AMOLED panel, but then you have this secondary screen that basically sips power like no other. This is a way that you're really going to save on battery life. And if you just leave this activated, you'll get a full 45 days of battery. Now, I haven't tested that claim out just yet, but I can attest to the fact that if you just use that always on display with that secondary display, you're going to save a ton of battery. And what I like about it too, I'll talk more about this later on in the video, but their Essential Mode application, which is basically a battery saving app, is a way that you can activate that secondary screen at a specific level of battery life. So this way, you're never left with a brick on your wrist. You'll always be able to time, you'll always be able to step track, you'll always be able to use this watch in its most basic form, which is to tell the time. It is a timepiece after all. But let's get more into this review. But 3 days is something I had to tell you first and foremost. 3 days is quite impressive for a Wear OS device, but let's get back to the TicWatch Pro 3 and see what it's all about. This is the best looking TicWatch that Mobvoi has ever produced. And that's the first thing that I thought to myself. That's the first thing that I said when I showed this to my friends, was just take a look at how nice this smartwatch is. They've really designed a very stylish looking watch. I like the two-tone glossy black with the matte black on the bottom. I also like how thin it is. Just take a look at how flush it sits on my wrist. This is a super thin watch, especially considering that inside is a 577 milliamp hour battery. That's 40% more than the TicWatch Pro 2020 as well. So not only did they make it thinner, but they've increased the battery life and they put a whole bunch of tech in here as well. But just take a look at the styling again. This is an awesome looking watch. I can't stress that enough. They really designed a very modern looking smartwatch. And it even extends to the strap. I like watch bands. If you guys are not new to my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of watch bands. And I like this because it is a silicone band with real stitching. So they did a nice job kind of faking you out, making you think that it's leather. But you can change this band out if this isn't your flavor. 22mm quick release bands will fit right over there. And it's just an overall nice looking watch. And again, just take a look at how thin that is. I can't stress that enough because I don't think I've seen a Wear OS device packed with this much tech and this big of a battery that's this thin. Now on the back, you do have an optical heart rate sensor, which is all new for this watch as well. You get 12 LEDs on the back that's also going to monitor your blood oxygen saturation levels, and it's an improved heart rate monitor as well. But inside this watch, you have a whole bunch of tech. You got a whole bunch of new tech. So this has the Wear 4100 processor, which is 85% faster than the Wear 3100. It also consumes 25% less battery life as well. So you're definitely going to push this to the limits while sipping on that battery. You get 1 GB of RAM, 8 GB of storage. You also get 577 milliamp hour for your battery, 577 milliamp hour. You also get Bluetooth, you get Wi-Fi, you get NFC for Google Payments, you get a speaker, you get a microphone, IP68 pool swim ready. You also get a gyroscope, GPS, everything you'd expect from a high-end smartwatch is in here. But of course, what makes a TicWatch Pro is their dual layer technology. They put 2 screens on one smartwatch. You have this beautiful 1.4-inch Retina AMOLED panel, but then what sits on top of it is actually a secondary screen. It's an LCD screen that's going to activate when your watch goes to sleep, and it's going to give you some information during workouts. It's also going to give you some information in its always on display mode, which is the time, the date. You're going to get some step tracking as well, and you have your seconds. And with this LCD panel, it's a way that Mobvoi can achieve such battery levels. But if you want to be fancy and always show that AMOLED screen when you're out and about, you can also do that as well. So you don't have to activate the dual layer screen if you don't want to. You can always show this beautiful AMOLED panel, and the screen itself gets bright enough. I never had any issues seeing this AMOLED panel in direct sunlight. Of course, in direct sunlight, the LCD panel is where it's at. You'll be able to see this panel with no problems in direct sunlight. And of course, thanks to having a backlight, even at night, you'll be able to see this LCD screen. So really a great piece of tech. And they've really improved this from previous generations as well. The colors are super accurate. It's a very nice, very vibrant panel to look at. With the brand new 4100 processor, the 1GB of RAM, and Mobvoi's own tweaks for the UI, I've never had an issue in terms of performance. It's never been laggy. It's always swiped through the different tiles and the different screens very, very quickly. And I give them props to it. Some Wear OS devices are a little bit laggy, but not the TicWatch Pro 3. I'm going to do a full review on the TicWatch Pro 3, so make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know down in the comments below if you have any questions about this smartwatch, but I don't think it's fair to do a full review on pre-release software. That's just not something that I do, and I also want a chance to test this out a little bit more, but so far I'm really impressed, so it can only get better from here. But let's just take a look at some of their Tic applications and some of the new ones for this TicWatch Pro 3. Tic Health is the main application to go for to give you your summary of your day, to see how you're doing in terms of your goals. So you see your steps, you see your active time, you see your active minutes, you'll see everything you need to see about your daily activities. There's your calorie, you'll see your miles if you've done any high intensity exercises. You'll also see your heart rate. Now this will monitor your heart rate 24 hours a day. You can also monitor your oxygen saturation levels. So again, you can enable this to monitor 24 hours a day as well. Any of these settings can increase or decrease that battery life. And you'll get a snapshot of your week with some little emojis here that you can set, letting you know if you've actually reached your goals for that day, for the week. And it's just a nice graphical representation of what's been going on. Tic Oxygen is where you can quickly take a measurement for that blood saturation level. And it's just a nice way to keep track of it if this is something that you want to do. Now you can enable 24-hour background monitoring, but this will decrease your battery life if you do that. You can see right down there for the week, it'll let you know what your lowest or your highest is. Tic Exercise is your main stop for all of your activities. This does run Wear OS, which means you can install Google Fit and get access to about 70 different activities. But Tic Exercise gives you probably what most people are going to do. So you have your running, you have your walking, you have your cycling, you have freestyle for when you're at the gym, and you can count those rests in between as well. So I like the freestyle application. Pool swimming, row machine, you get a whole bunch of different applications here. Mountaineering, which I think is hiking, and then there's your yoga. Tic Exercise app is where you want to go if you want access to the Tic Coach, which is Mobvoi's own AI coach, which will kind of help you and guide you through if your heart rate's a little bit too high for your whatever your goal level is. It'll tell you to slow down, it'll tell you to speed up. It'll also tell you to get moving if you've been sitting too long. You know, the basic stuff that all of these AI coaches give you. During an activity, you really want to use Mobvoi's Tic Exercise application instead of another app, because this is a way that you're going to fully utilize the secondary screen, and this is a way that you're going to be able to sip battery life while using GPS, while tracking your activity. I'll show you my 3-hour bike ride, which only took 4% of battery life, and I think that's really impressive. That's on Garmin level. My Garmin took only 3% for that same bike ride. So I'm really impressed with the TicWatch Pro 3, but I still need some more time to fully test it, to go on more rides, go on more runs, and just test the overall accuracy of the GPS and of the activity tracking. But when you go for a run, this is what you see. It's basically the information that you'd see from a smartwatch these days. So you'll be able to see your pace, and you'll be able to see how far you've ran, etc., etc. There is an auto pause feature as well, which I definitely appreciate. And then when you're done, if you swipe over, you can see all of your exercises that you've done here. So let me just show you the bike ride that I went on, just to give you an idea after you complete a workout, what you can expect to see after a ride. Show you your time, show you your miles, show you your average heart rate. You also get to see how many calories you've burnt and your average speed right over there. Of course, you can share it if you want to share it. But going on over to the Mobvoi application, this is an app that I like as well. They've redesigned it, they've overhauled their application, and it gives you the same information that you can share. So if you want to share this on the gram, or share it to some of your friends. It's very easy to do. Or if you just want to share the data, you can do that as well. Expanding on your exercise within the app on your phone or any device, you get to see the same information: distance, duration, calories burned, average heart rate, average speed, but then you get to see a graph right here of your heart rate zones during which part of your ride, and you also get to see your speed. You get to see your speed graph right over there, as well as that same map and your total distance right there as well. So in terms of activity tracking, it's not the most detailed that I've seen on a watch, but again, this is a fancy smartwatch. This is not a fitness watch first. This is a watch that does fitness, but I'm going to do more tests on it. There is going to be some updates, I'm told, from Mobvoi. I want to wait for those updates to hit the watch and hit the app before I do another full review. But this is just a little unboxing, a little taste to let you know what to expect when you do buy this watch, which I highly suggest you do. This is Wear OS's best device right now. It's just super fancy, super stylish, and it does a whole bunch in such a thin package. The next application is their Tick Sleep application, but I think it's best to show you it on my phone because the app gives you a little bit more information of what's been going on. You can see your heart rate information, your resting, your max, and your min, and you can click on any of these to kind of get more information, more detailed information. There's your oxygen saturation level readings. You can see your stress readings. Going into sleep tracking, you can see a whole bunch of information. So let's go into maybe September 20th. And you can see I slept for 7 hours and 57 minutes. So sleep efficiency, 95%. You can see how many minutes you're awake, your REM, your light, and your deep sleep as well. How many minutes it actually took you to fall asleep. You can see your resting heart rate, again, your minimum and your max during maybe a nightmare, which looked like I had right there. And it'll let you know if your heart rate's normal or if there's any sort of irregularities in your sleeping heart rate. And again, morning pulse, there's your frequency, there's your fluctuation as well. And it can also monitor your blood oxygen saturation level during sleep. Again, very, very useful for a lot of people. So I like the sleep tracking application. I like all the information that it gives you. And I just like their overall application. I think it's pretty cool. This is 2020. It's been a stressful year for basically everybody. And TickWatch has a couple applications here, your Tick Breathe and your Tick Zen, that's going to really help bring those stress levels down. Tick Breathe application is going to help you just take a minute to breathe and kind of relax yourself. Tick Zen is where you can monitor your stress levels. It's going to give you a lot of information about, well, how your stress level is right now. I just took a manual reading and I'm at a 10, so it lets me know I'm a little bit relaxed. You can easily just take a manual reading by pressing this button right over there, and you can breathe and take a timeout if it's a little high by pressing your little icon there for a leaf. Going down, if you want this to monitor your stress level all day long, you can do so as well, and it'll keep a graph. It'll let you know exactly what's been going on throughout the week and whatnot. But again, they give you this nice warning that this will consume a lot of power if you want to enable this feature. I personally know when I'm stressed, so I don't really need a watch to let me know that I'm stressed, but if you do, it's right here for you with their Tick Zen application. The next application that I want to show you is something that is pretty interesting. I've never really seen this on a watch before. It's called Tick Hearing, and it's going to monitor in real time the decibel level around you. So if you go clubbing a lot, you might want to open this up in the club. You're probably going to be way off the charts, or maybe you work in construction. Maybe you work in an environment that you think is damaging to your eardrum. This is kind of going to let you know if it is or not. So right now, I'm at 86, and if I stop talking, and it just dropped to about 42, meaning it's in a quieter environment. You can see your 7-day range, so it just kind of lets you know if you've been in places where the level of noise was probably a little bit too high for your hearing. Again, something that's interesting. I've never really seen that on a watch. You can do some voice dictation right on the watch as well, and the rest of the applications are pretty much something you've seen on any other Wear OS device. One of the top reasons to get a Wear OS device versus some other watches out there is the fact that this does run Wear OS, and you have access to your Google feed, you have access to the Google Assistant, and she's the most useful assistant on your wrist that I've tested. But it's just an overall great experience. It's very easy. If you've ever used a phone, it's very easy to just swipe through, swipe on down for your little quick toggles and whatnot, swipe on up for your notifications, and then you can also access the Google Assistant a bunch of different ways, either by saying the Hey G hot word. You can also swipe over to the right. There's your microphone. Who's the President of the United States?
The President of the United States of America is Donald Trump.
So you get to see a little graphical representation for your answer. You also get to hear it. Where's the closest Starbucks?
I found a few Starbucks locations near you.
What time does Macy's close?
There are a few Macy's locations. Here are their business hours for today.
It's really a useful assistant on your wrist. You get to see a lot of information, a lot more than some other competitors out there. Reason why I like Wear OS as well. If you're deep involved in the Google ecosystem and you love Google Apps, this is really the best watch for you because the integration is something that other devices just can't do. So being able to get turn-by-turn directions on your wrist is something that's super useful. I can't stress enough how useful this is. And when you exit navigation, you can actually get Google Maps right on your wrist, making this more useful than some other competitors. Well, I'm just going to say it, a ton more useful than Bixby. Getting office hours, just getting answers to basically any question that you have makes this very useful on your wrist. That's why I can recommend Wear OS, and that's why I recommend the TicWatch Pro 3, because it really is the fastest watch on the market right now. Super fast, very fluid indeed. But thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.